Many relationships are falling apart not because love is not in that relationship. The relationships are falling apart because they don't know how to handle their emotions, and they also don't know how to handle the emotions of their partners. Some people know how to provide financially, but they don't know how to provide emotionally. Some know how to talk, but they don't know how to listen. And some relationships are not suffering for a lack of love, but for a lack of emotional maturity. You're welcome to this channel. My name is Chukwunyere, and I help people build healthy, happy, and purposeful relationships that will influence cultures and transform societies. Today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence in marriage. Emotional intelligence in marriage. A lot of us get prepared for marriage financially, spiritually, physically, but we don't get prepared for marriage emotionally. I think that emotional preparation is the least type of preparation that a lot of people do. And so they come into marriage with a lot of unresolved traumas, with a lot of unhealthy communication patterns. They come into marriage with a lot of a lot of baggage that they throw into that relationship. And because they lack emotional maturity, or they lack skill in their ability to address conflict, in their ability to control their emotions, they always hurt their spouse or hurt their partners. Personally, one of the major ways that I've actually hurt my wife have always been when I'm emotionally immature, or when I do not control, when I'm emotionally unintelligent. Okay, so it's either maybe, there's a conflict and somehow I'm not patient enough to listen, or somehow I say something that makes her feel bad, and this fundamentally is tied to emotional maturity. So as I keep growing emotionally, the level of hurt reduces, the level of discomfort I cause her reduces. And this is really very important, because if you don't grow up emotionally, if you don't become emotionally intelligent, you're going to cause a lot of harm to your partner. And the degree to which you are not mature emotionally will be directly proportional to the degree of pain and hurt you cause your partner. The degree to which you are not emotionally intelligent is proportional to the degree to which you will cause pain to your partner. So this is very important that we deal with it today. Now, I just have a few notes about what emotional intelligence means. It means to understand your emotions. It means to regulate your emotions. It means to understand the emotions of the other person, and then to respond wisely instead of react impulsively. Understanding your emotions, regulating your emotions, understanding the emotions of the other person, and responding wisely instead of reacting impulsively. That is what emotional intelligence means. It means to be emotionally aware plus being emotionally responsible. Emotional awareness plus emotional responsibility. This is very important. And it's important for us to really note that life will throw stress at you, disappointment at you, jealousy at you. In fact, relationships are filled with these things. Relationships activate emotions, different types of emotions. And because relationships activate emotions, it's important to know, to be aware of your own emotion, regulate it, understand the other person's emotion, and know how to respond to them rather than responding impulsively. Marriage is a deeply emotional business. And because it's a deeply emotional business, it's important to master your emotions. It's important to grow into a place of maturity so that you will be able to effectively manage your marriage, manage your relationship, and not hurt each other. This is very important. So don't be that person who would explode, who lacks patience, who would shrink into your shell, or who would completely avoid conversations and keep malice. Be that person who would not attack the other person when they are upset, but then show understanding, communicate effectively, and avoid causing the other pain or hurt. This is critical. Now, communication is not enough, because there are people who communicate, they over-communicate, but in that communication, they are hurting the other person. So communication is not essentially enough. But then effective communication, which requires emotional maturity, is very important. So emotional intelligence impacts positively on how you communicate. Emotional intelligence impacts positively on how you communicate. For instance, there's a difference between listening to understand and listening to defend yourself. There's a difference between listening to understand and listening to defend yourself. There's a difference between expressing pain and attacking someone emotionally. There's a difference between honesty and cruelty disguised as honesty. So emotional intelligent people learn how to communicate without destroying the other person. Okay? They know how to also communicate without disrupting the emotional safety of that relationship, or the emotional safety that the other person feels in that relationship. Because once emotional safety disappears, then the other person stops being honest and they stop being vulnerable. So it's important that we ensure that as we communicate, we're emotionally intelligent, so we don't disrupt emotional safety. That way we can maintain emotional honesty and vulnerability. Now, a lot of people react from their wounds, the wounds of the past. And this is one difficult aspect of relationships that everyone is growing to come out of. And while you are in that space, there is a tendency to always hurt your partner. A lot of times, some people are not reacting to their present moment. They are reacting from an old wound. So, like a small disagreement, for instance, becomes an explosive incident, okay, because it touches on rejection, betrayal, fear, shame, abandonment, childhood pain, previous relationship trauma, and all of that. So, for instance, someone who grew up constantly criticized may become highly defensive. Someone who experienced abandonment can become emotionally anxious or controlling. Someone raised in an emotionally cold environment may struggle expressing affection. This is why, it's actually very important to be emotionally aware, or to be self-aware, because unresolved pain does not disappear automatically after marriage. A lot of people think, when I get married, or when when we get married is going to change. But marriage exposes, these deep sides of you. And so if you are carrying deep hurts, trauma, and all of that, it is not your partner's responsibility to heal you. It is their responsibility to treat you right, but it is your responsibility to heal yourself. Healing is a responsibility, and this is very important because a lot of us are not yet at that place emotionally where we can treat our partners right. Because we have past trauma, past pain, rejections, and all of that, we express these emotions or we project these emotions on our partners, and our partners get hurt and they suffer because of it. So there's need to grow, there's need to improve. One thing I'd also like to talk about is that conflict does not destroy relationship, but it is how we handle those conflicts that destroys our relationship. There's no marriage that doesn't have conflict. There's no marriage that doesn't experience conflict, not a single one. But the goal is not avoiding disagreement, is not avoiding the conflict. The goal is learning how to disagree without destroying each other emotionally. You can have conflicts, but the goal is not to destroy each other emotionally. So emotionally immature conflict would sound like this. You never, shouting, yelling, screaming, insults, defensiveness, emotional shutdown, manipulation, silent treatment, contempt. These are things that an unhealthy relationship or an emotionally immature conflict would look like. But an emotionally intelligent conflict will sound like, help me understand. Oh, that hurt me. I feel unheard. Can we talk about this calmly? I understand your perspective. I was wrong. So, one of the strongest relationship skills is emotional regulation. You may feel upset about something, but your ability to maintain a calm tone or the right tone of voice, your ability to say the right things, the ability to know when to say those right things is very important. You can get upset and you keep talking, you keep yelling, you keep screaming, you keep saying hurtful words. Okay? When you keep doing that, you probably have lost that other person. You've hurt them in a way that may take a while for them to recover from it. So it's important to understand how to regulate your emotions, because the ability to pause before reacting destructively is very much an important skill that every one of us must have. Because words spoken in emotional chaos can leave wounds that last for years. Like I said earlier, one of the major ways that I've actually hurt my wife is times when I'm emotionally unintelligent or when I express lack of emotional intelligence. And so it's important to know how to regulate your emotions, understand your emotions, understand how you feel at every particular time, and then understand your partner's feelings and be able to respond wisely. That's very important. So emotional safety is everything. One of the greatest gifts you can give to your partner is emotional safety. So emotional safety means that your partner can speak honestly without fear. They are vulnerable, and that vulnerability is not punished. Mistakes are not a constant weapon that you use against them. Their emotions are not mocked. Concerns are taken seriously. Communications feel safe. And then a relationship cannot deepen emotionally where people constantly feel judged, dismissed, attacked, ignored, or emotionally unsafe. Okay, so emotionally safety is also very important for both men and women. Many men silently struggle emotionally because they feel unsafe expressing themselves. They see it as weakness. People see it as weakness even for a man to express himself emotionally, so they just keep it to themselves. Many women emotionally withdraw because they feel unheard or emotionally rejected or neglected. So healthy relationships create space for healthy conversations, for honest conversations without any form of humiliation. That's very important. Now, what emotionally healthy couples do differently? I need to share this quickly. So emotionally healthy couples are not perfect. No one is perfect. It doesn't matter how happy they are not perfect. But they simply become intentional about growth. And so they apologize sincerely. They listen carefully. They regulate their emotions better. They take responsibility. They seek understanding. They communicate respectfully. They stay teachable, and they prioritize emotional connection. All right. They understand that their partner is not the enemy. Your partner is not the enemy. And most importantly, they also learn that love is not just a feeling. Love is also an emotional responsibility. I am responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for how I respond based on how I feel. Okay, so I'm going to just, leave you with this question. Can two imperfect people learn how to handle emotions in healthy ways together? Can two imperfect people learn how to handle emotions in healthy ways together? Because emotional intelligence changes everything. It changes communications, conflict, intimacy, trust, emotional connection, peace in the relationship. So let's try as much as we can to come to that place where we are self-aware, where we can effectively regulate our emotions, where we can sit to really understand the other person's emotions, and then try as much as we can to respond wisely and not react in a foolish way. All right. And sometimes, the strongest relationships are not the ones, with few problems now, but the ones where both people become emotionally mature enough to navigate problems wisely. Like I said earlier, no relationship is void of conflict or void of challenges, but their ability, healthy couples are the ones that have the ability to be able to manage those conflicts in a way that doesn't destroy emotional safety or that doesn't hurt the other person. So, what do you think damages relationships more? Is it poor communication or poor emotional regulation? I'd like to see your comments in the comment section. So, I'll end here by saying that if this video has added value to you, please like, please share, please comment, and also subscribe just in case you have not. Until I come your way next time on the next episode, take care of yourselves and have a good one.